Well, hello there, and welcome to another exciting edition of your favorite all-women talk show on City TV and, of course, 97.3 City FM. My name is Jessica, your regular hostess for the show. Now, as usual, the show's about relationships. We like to delve into all the stuff that comes up from time to time, the arguments, the suspicious behavior. This is a platform where people just share their relationship challenges, and we offer our 2 cents on them. So we'll be doing exactly that tonight. Now, what happens when a husband is done having kids, yet his wife wants more? How does he convince her to go that, toe the same line as he is? And also, a lady is pregnant with her father-in-law. No kidding. We get into that as well. Plus, well, she's a Christian and he's a Freemason. Yeah, she's scared to go ahead and marry him. Will it be a good idea for them to, should I say, join forces, for want of a better word? All these and more we'll be talking about on the show today, so definitely stay tuned. And, of course, thank you once again for tuning in. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sister on City TV and 97.3 City FM. So our WhatsApp number today is 054-998-6996. Let's hear your thoughts on tonight's conversations. Anything you'd like to, comment on, or perhaps you have a question you'd like to send us, you can do so. You can also send an email to jessica@cityfmonline.com. Better yet, find us on Facebook at Sister Live. You shall find our beautiful logo as our DP, just like the page, and join the exciting interactions that happen on our homepage. Now that you know how you can interact with us, let me say hello to my sisters. And joining me in studio, I have Tina. Good to see you. How you doing today?
See you, sis.
You look really lovely.
Thank you.
Something
so
about the navy blue, huh?
Oh.
And the hairstyle. Look, it's just popping.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you've had a good week.
Yeah, so far.
Good. We like good weeks. We also have Olivia looking radiant today. Hi, Olivia.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. You're looking shine.
My limbs.
Oh, Sam. Charlie. This is the only time during the week that I can actually get to look sane and normal.
Okay.
And considering that I'm still, in birthday mode, last week I wasn't able to say thank you to all my amazing people out there who wished me happy birthday, including you all ladies. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. But except you didn't bring us any cake, so we vex. It's all good. I hope you're well, though.
Cake. We'll sort it out.
I know. Okay. We'll deal with that later. We also have Rosina on the line. Hello, Rosie.
Hi, Jessica.
I missed that. You raising your shoulders and saying hi.
I know, right?
Have you been? Oh, your hair. Oh, my God.
No. Thank you. It's actually for you. I did this because of you.
I'm so jealous. Viewers, that's her hair. That's all her hair. Unbelievable. Love it.
Jess.
Now you make me regret not starting to lock my hair when you did a couple of years ago.
No, but your hair is beautiful. It suits you. I can't see you in anything else, Jess.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Anyway, enough about us. Shall we start the show? If you're ready, we'll go right into our first story. So this one says, my wife and I have been married for a year and 7 months, and we're blessed with a 9-month-old daughter. I have a 5-year-old daughter with a woman I was unmarried to. My issue now is I'm seriously considering not having any more children, but I know my wife is eagerly looking forward to us having more kids. I've carefully assessed our marriage, and I'm afraid that we might not be able to handle the general responsibilities of more children. Having more children might be physically, emotionally, psychologically, and financially draining to the extent that our marriage will be at risk. Please advise me on how best to discuss this with my wife. Fact is, I'm almost at the point where I'd say I definitely don't want to have any more children, and I'm ready to accept whatever my wife decides to do in that case. But I still want to discuss it with her, hoping that she sees my point and agrees. Please help me, sisters. All right, Olivia, let me come straight to you today. What would you do if you were this man who didn't want to have any more kids?
Wow. I'd sit my wife down and have a conversation with her. I think it really helps. Just like you've poured out to her, try and let her know that this is exactly how you feel. And to be honest, I totally understand this man, especially because children don't ask to be here. So you have to be 110% sure when you're bringing them into this world that you're going to have, enough time. I mean, you're going to give them the right attention, affection, all that they need to be able to make their lives habitable enough on this planet. And if you're not there yet and you're not ready, by all means, please have a sit down with her and let her know this is exactly where you are at. And let her understand, because trust me, the last thing you want is having a child that you don't want. And you'll be resentful if she ends up getting pregnant. You wouldn't love the child because you'll always look at the child with lots of, I wasn't ready to have you and all of that. And you don't want that. And I can understand that. So please sit her down and tell her that, to be honest, have that frank, honest conversation with her and tell her that this is exactly where you stand. And these are the reasons why you've decided on this. And if you think that, she's very, she's a kind of woman who, is intent on having another child, irrespective of your submissions, you can have what is it called? Is it a vasectomy? Or you can have that. And it's actually reversible. I know people who have that because they don't want to have children in this world. So they go through that. I'm not sure which one it is though, but there's a medical procedure that takes less than 10 minutes. You're in and out of there and it's always reversible. Go have that done. And then at least you know that you're 110% sure that there's no way your wife is getting pregnant. But by all means, please tell her so that it's not like you did that, behind her, and to avoid all the conversation. The confusion in your marriage. So please,
okay,
you can do that.
Let me come to you, Tina. Isn't this guy being selfish?
I don't think so,
okay.
Because he tells you that he's thought about it physically, emotionally, financially,
psychologically.
So by all means, it's a good thought process that he's got going on there, but the thing is, it's about two people, not just one person. And I believe that there's wisdom in reasoning. So he needs to sit down and have a conversation with the wife, laying down all his burdens and letting her know where he's coming from. So that that the journey, yes, you may carry the baby, but then I'm going through the journey with you. I don't know what he means by physically. Maybe the woman also had maybe complications when she was having the first one, so probably will go against her health for the second one. Also, financially, the burden of taking care of two kids, because on his side he has two kids. So it will look like he's being selfish, but if he sort of lays down his argument properly to the woman and give her time to actually understand where he's coming from and come back to him with what she thinks. If she comes back afterwards and says that, listen, whatever it is, we can go through together and I'm willing to also do my bit to make this possible, then you know that you are not alone in this journey. But by all means, you have to have that conversation with her so she understands where you're coming from. But if she insists, even after hearing your side of the argument, don't push too much, because you will look like you're being selfish, because you have your two kids on this side,
right,
and she feels like she just has one. She wants more, So yeah, I think you should by all means have that conversation with her and let her also take her time to think about it, because you have had your time thinking about the whole thing.
Okay.
So she should also have her time to think about it and make her decision, and then you can take it from there.
All right. So Rosina, Olivia and Tina are both saying conversation. How do we approach this?
I lost the earlier part of the question.
So
the man has two kids out of wedlock?
No, he has one kid already. He's not married. He never got married to the woman. But then he currently has another child with his wife, a 9-month-old baby.
Okay.
And he's saying he doesn't want to have any more kids. Basically that's where they're at.
Okay. So basically, once you had a child before you got married, I think that before they got married, they should have. Those are some of the conversations. Like I keep saying, there are certain things that are deal breakers. You should at least have some of these conversations. Do you want a large family? Do you want a small family? How are we going to manage our finances and all of that? Because to suddenly think that you're okay with 2 and the woman should be okay with 1, on the face of it, like Tina and Olivia have said, you look selfish because you have 2 kids. And, in Africa, we believe in having so many kids. Since he said, if something happens to some, you still have some left. You always have that ideology. So it becomes very difficult to want a woman who's probably in her prime, probably very fertile, probably hasn't undergone any medical issues while she was pregnant, to not even explore the possibility of having a second or even a third one, just because you claim you have 1 before you got married and you're okay with your 2, so she should be okay with her 1. You come off as selfish, but like everybody is saying, sometimes you need to lay your cards on the table. Now, look, this is the kind of life that I want to afford my kids, and I would want to not be burdened with, having to break my back and even probably not be able to support the kids. So because of this is the reason why I'm doing X, Y, Z. The woman will also put her cards on the table. But the thing is that maybe it could open the conversation where instead of you being the sole financial supporter of the home, the woman can then say, okay, fine, I would also contribute X amount of money to the upkeep of the home so that the financial burden on you may be reduced.
Right.
So you can talk about it. But I think that your mind should not be made up. Because once you get into marriage and things like property, things like children, there are certain things that don't become your sole decision anymore. You may have the final say, but you should be open to discussion, dialogue, seeing from where the other person is coming from, where the other person is at, so that you can make it work together. Okay. But by all means, discuss it. Otherwise, you look selfish. And please don't go behind the woman to do vasectomy like Olivia suggested, because that then would be a betrayal of your trust if you did that, especially on the blind side of a woman. So. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I do recall we had a story one time. I don't know if you were on the show that day. A guy did a vasectomy and he didn't tell his wife, and it was a whole now he couldn't even come back and ask whose child is this. But yeah, you're right. These conversations need to be had very early on in the relationship, even before you guys proceed to marriage, the number of kids you want to have and that kind of thing. And I feel like you guys didn't do it. Reason why it's an issue now, because if we had that conversation, we wouldn't be talking about it. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to lay all your cards on the table. I'm not going to beat about the bush. That's my opinion on that as well. Let me bring in a couple of our viewers. Nana Kweku says, what if she doesn't agree with you then? Will you still insist on not having children? I don't think it's fair to her also for you to take a concrete decision. Listen to her first and then decide. If you believe having more children comes with extra responsibility, then look elsewhere to make additional income. Unless, of course, you're hiding something. Maybe the other children draining your resources? Albert says, you are being fair, sir. Why worry a child by bringing him or her into this world if you know perfectly that your resources won't suffice? Martin says, oh dear, this conversation should have been had before marriage. It's quite unfair to bring this up now. I wonder why you never discussed how many kids you'd want to have earlier. Well, go ahead and discuss it with her. I suggest you appeal to her rather than shoving it down her throat. Provide reasonable facts why you think another kid may be a burden. Christabel says, suppose she's the one that came along with one child and decided to close the docket on childbearing after giving birth to one with you, making 2 for her. Would you have agreed? Some things are to be discussed before marriage. John says, very sensible man. What are you using more children for? If you've assessed the situation and seen your limitation, then it's not a problem. If only more men could be like you and not be giving birth anyhow and be complaining about responsibilities later, the world would be a better place. All right, we'll go for a quick commercial break. When we return, I'll be getting into another email.
Let's take you on a journey of discovery, the incredible sights, artifacts, music, and adventure. It is what makes life worth living. Our history, the arts, and soul. Art and Soul with Melissa Awad. Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. Only on City TV.
Art and soul, art, soul, art and soul, art, yeah, soul, art and soul, art, soul, art and soul.
Welcome back to Sister Sister on City TV and 97.3 City FM. Remember, our WhatsApp number is 054-998-6996. We'll go for our next story. Here it is.
Hello, sisters. I'm in a very delicate situation. I married my husband about a year ago, and all has been rosy till about a month ago. He comes from a well-to-do home, so he didn't see the need to move out of his family home since he had his own quarters. After the wedding, I moved in and we've had no problem at all. I love my husband very much, although he's a very busy man. His mom died at a very young age, and so he is very close to his father. My father-in-law, who is in his early 60s, is very handsome for his age. A week before the COVID-19 lockdown, my husband traveled abroad for a business conference. During the lockdown, my father-in-law and I really spent a lot of time together and bonded so much that we realized we shared similar interests. To be honest, I never imagined cheating on my husband with anyone, let alone his father. He started making advances towards me, which I didn't do much to resist. I must confess, my father-in-law is very good in bed and makes me orgasm multiple times. Due to the borders closure, my husband hasn't been able to return home. I found out some days ago that I was pregnant for my in-law. I don't know what to do. I'm really ashamed of myself. I told my in-law about it, but he doesn't want me to abort it. Rather, he says I should pretend it belongs to his son. The thing is, my husband and I had sex the night before he traveled, so that plan could work out perfectly. Help me, sisters. Do I abort, lie to my husband, or confess and face the consequences?
Now, this scenario almost sounds like a movie. Unbelievable. She's pregnant for her father-in-law. Wondering whether she should, blame her husband or put it on her husband, so to speak, or confess. Livy, talk to me, girlfriend.
Yes. You feel bad as it is already. The last thing I'm going to do is to make you feel bad some more. Because right now, the dilemma in which you find yourself in, I don't know what you're going to do. My little advice to you will be, confess to your husband, deal with the consequences, and live with it. That's life. You take a decision and you live by it. I'm not going to go on and on like I usually do and then talk about why, you're not supposed to be taking off your knickers when you're married, house, and all of that, because it's a broken record. I'll continue to say that, but it is what it is. And I'm sorry, but sweetheart, you cannot give this child to your husband who has no idea what you did. You cannot live a lie. You cannot continue to live a lie. It's crazy as it is. I mean, I don't even know how you would have kept the whole sleeping with his father away from him, and how you would look him in the eye had he returned, had coronavirus not been there, and, you know, he had just traveled a bit and he had been able to come back. I don't know how you would have still been able to look at him and say, I love you to him, especially after you slept with his father. So it is what it is. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but my dear, tell your husband and deal with the consequences. I mean, shame on your father-in-law. I just have to vent on someone at this point. I mean, your father-in-law should be older and wiser and should know better. I mean, shame on him. Don't live a lie anymore. Continue with your life and see what happens. But by all means, just brace yourself, because it's not going to be an easy journey. It's going to be tough. So just brace yourself and deal with it. That's my little submission there.
All right, Tina, let me come to you. I mean, there are 3 options here. Confess, abort, or give it to your husband. What would you have taken?
For the purposes of the show, I would say I would take the high road and confess.
Okay. I actually thought he would choose abort. For me,
so that's why I said
like...
for the purposes of
the show. No, let's...
Because, listen, there's something that karma does. You always get, the truth always comes out. Eventually. And it's so, it just works, it's warped. You don't even know how the truth comes out. Something will happen to trigger something, and then it will all let loose. So, this is what I'm going to say. That the guy, your husband is not even in yet. He's still
stuck outside.
Yes. And you have a baby, or you have a child in your belly. It's growing. It's still in the minor stages. I think you should say what you need to say to your husband and let him decide. Because right now your father-in-law is saying that he wants the baby. Your husband will probably tell you that he doesn't want you anymore, leave his house, or he doesn't want to be with you anymore. If that's the case, then you have the support of your father-in-law to keep the baby. You've laid your bed, you've lost your husband, and now you have a child with your father-in-law. It's so...
What I want to know is whether his mother-in-law is alive, like her mother-in-law is alive.
So he lost his mother when he was young. So he's very close to his father.
Right.
So this young man would suffer the betrayal of his father, who is closest to him, his wife, who's the next closest, or probably the most closest person to him, and then probably he's been looking forward to a child, giving birth to a child, and now he's not even the father of the baby you're carrying. So I don't see how he will get through this and survive by accepting you and the unborn child. So it will be better if you
it's not easy.
Listen, it's not an easy situation. I would say that you confess, because if you don't, in the end, what's going to happen is that the child will grow up thinking this is his father. Later on, probably his grandfather that he thinks is his grandfather is really his father. Charlie, I don't know what you do, man.
Tricky.
Yeah.
Rosina, let me bring you in.
The ideal situation is that when you get married, Charlie, you are married. Forget about all those other co-meanings and all of that. It's not worth it. However, the girl is not smart. This is the true definition of movie talk. When they say somebody is a fool, this is the true definition. I have no beef with the father-in-law. See, men are schooled to think that they are hunters. So you are living in your father-in-law's house, and her submission said that she made no attempt at resisting the father-in-law.
Right.
For me, that's what caught my attention, because if the father was trying to and you said, no, I don't like that, or, but you found him intriguing and you made no attempt at resisting, it means that you were a party in this. Now, your father-in-law probably has nothing to lose. And furthermore, when you got pregnant, why did you even go and tell your father-in-law that you were pregnant? Look, we have the ideal situation for the show. But if it were me in her situation, let me be very frank, I would deal with that baby without the father-in-law knowing, without the husband knowing, and possibly find a time to confess to my husband what I did. I may even decide not to disclose who the man in question was, but I would confess that I was unfaithful to him and there was an issue out of it. Either say I lost it or either say that I actually aborted it. I'll do the confession. Because the reason why I'm saying this is that, look, sometimes family is family. No matter what, family is family. The son may be very angry with the dad in the beginning, but maybe at some point they'll find a way to be civil with each other. But you'll never be welcome in that house, not by the son, and eventually not by the father-in-law. When the son comes back and you have that pregnancy, what are you going to do? Now, the thing is that if you put the pregnancy on your husband, they may not be able to detect it because the father of the child is the father of your husband. So in terms of DNA, the DNA will be carried along. So they could get a high percentage to depict that, okay, the child belongs to your husband, but you know it doesn't belong to your husband. And I think that the worst thing you can do to any man is to put a child on a man when it's not the man's child, and you know it. And you know that is the father's child. Now, you can't give the man reason for even leaving the house and going to live on your own, because there's a reason why both of you lived in your father's house and there has been no issues. So why do you say that you're leaving the father's house? Now, the ideal situation is, keep the baby, don't abort because abortion is wrong and all of that. Confess to your husband, consequences, take the high road. But if it were me, to start with, I wouldn't do something as stupid as this. Honestly, I wouldn't. To be married and sleep with your father-in-law when you are living in your father-in-law's house, I don't get how you do something like that. But if you did something like that and you want any form of, I don't know, actually, look, even if you have the child will grow up referring to your husband as the step brother.
Yeah, brother.
Husband as a step brother or as the father. And your Charlie, how's the relation going to be? It's a whole mixed thing. And sometimes you feel like some of these things nobody will know. But like Tina said, the truth, Charlie, you can do anything at once. One day, it will come out. So sometimes the earlier you face the truth head on, the better. Secondly, if you feel like you know your husband very well and you think that he's kind at heart, then he should be the first person you should tell, not even your father-in-law. Like I said, tell your husband that, Charlie, I have goofed. I opened my legs to someone and I'm pregnant. And I know that it's all my fault and I will take whatever it is you want to dish out. But I'm really sorry. And let your husband be the decider of what should happen. But in any case, if I were you for now, whilst your husband is away, don't disclose the identity of the other man to your husband whilst he's away. That is if you want to be truthful and lay all your cards on the table. But how could you be so... Anyway, let me just leave it at that.
Right. Sorry. Tina. I whilst Rosie was talking, I was just thinking about another dimension where the child grows up, like growing up, what it will do to this child to find out that my mother slept with my grandfather,
and the guy who's supposed to be your father is actually your brother.
I mean, this is how we get children going astray, because already their parents have like a life that is not quote and unquote sane. It's not a good environment for a child to grow up in.
So can I quickly say something?
Olivia, go ahead.
That everybody's concentration is on the woman. Well, she puts in her submission, but I think on second thoughts, she shouldn't tell her husband while he's away working, because I don't know how he's going to deal with this news psychologically. And the fact that she's still in the same house with her father-in-law, the man, I mean, I really feel bad for the man. So If it were me, I mean, touch wood, it would not be me, but I think that you should wait for your husband to come to tell him exactly what you've done. But then again, also think about the fact that if you're going to go by what Rosie is saying, how many lies can you keep going on and on about? And not every woman deals with, you know, if you abort the baby, the consequences, the father, like too much wahala. My thing is, come clean and live with the consequences. And by all means, don't abort the baby. I don't believe in abortion, so don't abort them.
All
That's
right.
just.
Let me shake this table a little bit. I mean, and sometimes, like, when you find yourself on live television, I feel like you hold back a little bit. But I'm just really, truly putting myself in this woman's situation. Would I tell my husband? No. Would I tell my father-in-law? No. I'll just get rid of the baby. That simple.
Wow.
That simple. Like, I'm not even... So I have my faults. I don't know what they also have in their closets, but I'm trying to save a situation. You know, I'm not trying to be an angel. If, let's say, I'm a Christian, later on I can pray to my God and, you know, have that conversation with him for some kind of forgiveness. But I'm trying to remedy a situation. I'm not trying to, like, destroy my marriage or anything like that. Simple. Get rid of the baby. Move on.
And so
that's simple. I don't even know why we're beating around the bush.
So that's why when I was talking, I said for TV,
no, it's
I would say
it's what should be.
Well, but you see, the truth will eventually.
1 second, Tina. I think that sometimes the reason why we are here is to offer real, sometimes non-conventional advice based on things that we have been through, things that we have seen and experienced. All I'm saying is that if I ever found out that the man I've always called daddy for 30 plus years of my life is actually my brother, and no, not even 30 plus years, maybe I found out when I was like 8 years old or 9 years old, do you know the psychological trauma I have to live with?
That child can't be born.
But that's exactly what I said. I agree with you.
At this point, my concentration will not even be on the marriage. My action is not because I probably want to save my marriage or I want to save my... You see, there are certain things, and for now, you may think it's okay. There are even men who will tell you, okay, I've forgiven you. You have the baby. Okay, I forgive you. Or maybe I'm not even forgiving you. But you see, you have to live with this consequence for life.
Right.
You'll be mentally traumatized. I'm saying that, look, let's be real sometimes. I'm not saying that I'm pro-abortion. I'm not. But all I'm saying is that if I were put in that situation as a normal human being, to start with, like I said, I would never do something like that. But assuming that evil entered me and I did something as silly as that. Look, the first thing I would do is not inform any of them. Like Jessica said, get rid of the baby. And if you are still psychologically traumatized, you know that then you don't deserve your husband anymore. And then walk out, repent for the better, and make sure you have a better life with the next man that you meet. But this whole thing, confess, I did challenge some confessions when you confess.
You'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, so you get out of the situation because
what they did, it follows them.
Charlie?
I mean, let's be real. I'm just being real. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, and the conversation's out there. So our viewers and our listeners can weigh in as well. I mean, what would you honestly and truly do in a situation like this? I mean, it's never a good place to be, and nobody hopes to find themselves there. But would you, once again, either confess, abort, or give the baby to your husband? You guys discuss it. We'll go for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
The conversations that help you shape your spiritual journey as a Christian. Find the answers you seek. Catch the 700 Club with Pat Robertson every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. on City TV.
Hey, welcome back to Sister on City TV and 97.3 City FM. Very interesting email received there before the commercial break, but we'll, let me just read a couple of comments because people are really weighing in. Kwesi says, hey, we're living a crazy world indeed. How on earth can you even sleep with your father-in-law? I can't think far. It's better you tell the truth and get divorced and keep the child. Whatever you do, the truth will come out someday. It's now or never. I wish you all the best. Elena says, so you're carrying your husband's younger brother or sister? LOL. Will you now become his stepmom? Confess to the man and see what goes from there, because you can't hide this forever. What a scandal. Fafa says, so you're carrying your husband's soon-to-be sibling. Big ups. Abortion is out of the picture. You can only hope for a miscarriage. Tell your husband the truth, but wait till he returns. Joey says, how can a woman and her father-in-law do such a satanic thing to this young man? The girl should be ashamed of herself and confess to the husband. If he forgives her, then it's fine. If not, she should face the repercussions of her actions. Richard says, keep the child, save your husband the pain, and make sure he returns home to his father's funeral. Once the baby's 2 years, find a way to join your father-in-law. As in, find a way to die. That's so heartless. Tough. Kutin says, people act shocked. Others come in judging from all sides. Yet most of us individually do worse things in our closets. My sister, please tell your husband the truth and live with the consequences. So those are a couple of your comments coming through to the show right now. We'll move on to our next email. Says, hi sisters, I married my wife 11 years ago and God has blessed us with a son. Until recently, I started having issues with my mother-in-law. After my wife delivered, she came to stay with us for 2 weeks. She called me one night to seek my permission to take my wife and the baby to her hometown to take care of them for some time, but I refused. She got upset, packed her belongings, and left. I want to know if, as a husband, I don't have the right to determine where my wife and son stay. Robert from Koforidua. Rosina, let me come to you.
But why was the mother-in-law angry about that decision, though?
Only God knows.
Because you see, one thing I try to, when two people get married, yes, it's families who are getting married, and even your ancestors are intertwined and all of that. But by all means, families should allow couples to grow and bond together. And whatever decision is being taken, it should be taken by the couple. Even if it's not good, even if it's bad, it's all a way of learning them to grow together and then mature together and then become a power couple when they grow up. Now, my take is that it's possible that this woman, because I can't picture my mother coming to our house to tell my husband that he wants to take me home to take care of me. If anything at all, I'm expecting I would have to discuss that with my husband, not my mother-in-law, not my mother discussing with my husband. I don't know whether you catch my drift.
Yes, absolutely.
So for the mother to come and talk to her husband is two things. Maybe it is something that the wife wants, but probably because of the temperament of the man, didn't know how to approach it. And then he probably felt that if her mother went ahead with the course, it would be more difficult for the husband to say no. Number two, it could be that wherever they are staying, the mother feels he's probably not too comfortable. Or sometimes what happens is that when the mother-in-laws come to the couple's house, you realize that the mother-in-law is usually very burdened with the work of taking care of the children because she's the only one. Whereas if she takes the lady to her house, probably because there are more people living in the house, probably a family house, there are more hands to take care of it. It could be 1,000,001 reasons. But what my problem is why it's not the woman discussing with the husband, and it's rather her mother discussing with the husband. And secondly, even if the husband wasn't interested, I think that what the husband should have done was to tell the mother-in-law that, let me discuss with my wife and I'll get back to you.
Right.
So that it doesn't become the man also telling the mother-in-law that, no, I mean, my wife will not go with you. Because in as much as when you are married, your parents give you off to somebody else, in their eyes, you are still their child. So when they feel that there's a decision being taken in the best interest of their child, and then their spouse steps in and goes like, no. Sometimes they feel like you have disrespected them, or you don't know how much I put into this child and all of that. So I think that I don't have a problem with the husband not wanting them to go. I think my problem is he shouldn't have flat right told the mother-in-law no. He should have said, let me discuss with my wife. And then ask the wife, why, what's up? Why did your mom do this, X, Y, Z? And then based on that, maybe the daughter will now go and see the mother and say, oh, ma, let's just stay here for a while. When the child grows a little bit, will come. Something like that. Because this mother-in-law's position, as much as possible, you try not to step on their toes. It doesn't mean that you should alter your decisions, but it's just the way you do it. That's all.
Okay. So, okay. Let me bring in Tina. you think the husband should just say it as it is? Yeah?
Why not? No, you can't take my wife and my child away. I mean, an answer is an answer. I don't need to polish it to make it any way. But what I think is when someone or a young man comes to marry a woman, and the family of the woman says, okay, you can take my child away. It means they are saddling the responsibility of the well-being of everything concerning their child into the young man's hands. So even though you are my child, I still care for you and everything, but now you have your own. The Bible even says, leave and cleave unto your husband. The two shall be one. The two of you have now gone and you are in your homes and you're doing what you have to do. Now, it's actually the prerogative of the couple to invite their parents into their home. It's not a must that once I give birth, I need to bring my mother into the house, or my mother-in-law to come and live in the house. I mean, if people find themselves outside the country and the two of them are just living in the house, they take care of their babies and they're fine.
True.
So it doesn't have to be a matter of, okay, I see that there's a lot of burden in the house, so I'm taking my child. And one point that Rosie said that I agree very much with is that maybe the lady actually wants to go and does not know how to communicate that to her husband, and so thought that because the husband may be shy of the mother, if the mother rather says it, he will feel like, okay, then let me let them go. So that probably was what happened. But the man too wasn't ready, and so he just said no.
Yeah.
So please don't feel bad that you are not allowing your daughter and your wife to go to their mother-in-law. You should just find out from your wife if she feels overwhelmed with what is happening, if she feels like she's not able to handle things on her own, because sometimes you might see that you might feel she's okay, but taking care of a newborn by yourself and with little help can be overwhelming. So from your side as a man, you might think everything is okay, but I think you should have a discussion with your wife. Maybe there's something that she can't really communicate to you properly. So have that discussion and let her, try and open up to you. And then if it's something like that, it doesn't have to be her mother. It can be a help that you can bring home, or, extend the time that family can spend with you or something like that. Right. But yeah, by all means, if you said no, you said no.
Right. Okay, Livy, what do you say about this one?
I'm actually curious to know what his wife's reaction was during the entire time when, his mother-in-law came around to actually pick her daughter up and take her away. I'm curious to find out what she thought about all of this. See what I mean? Because, like Tina is saying, maybe she's uncomfortable with certain things that are happening at home. Maybe, yes, it's true, because of the baby, she's a bit stressed out. But, I feel bad for this guy. And this guy who sent in the submission, yes, you have every right to know where your family, where they are. You have every right to know where they are at, what's happening with them. And I feel like that privilege has been taken away from you. You're not getting to enjoy your little child, and it's not fair on you. And Tina was saying something, and I agree with her. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife. And you're a new family. You're now starting life. You have every right to enjoy your family, go through the ups and downs. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to also reach out to some parents who feel as though, yes, because they gave birth to their children, they have every right to be very domineering and take decisions for them. For how long are you going to pick your kids up? Allow them to fall, allow them to jump, allow them to fly, allow them to do whatever it is that they want to do, allow them to make their own mistakes and learn from the realities of life. You see what I mean? And I like Tina is saying, you should have a conversation with your wife. Ask her, is there anything that you're doing that makes life uncomfortable for her with regards to the situation in which you all find yourselves in? And what can you do to make things better? Because truly and genuinely and honestly, you want your family next to you. It's your right as a husband, as a father. You see what I mean? And then you can take it up from there, because without having that conversation with your wife, my dear, I don't see you moving forward, because if she doesn't want to be with you because of the situation, there's nothing you can do about it. So you need to know what's in her mind and what she wants, and how you can sort of meet her halfway in order to be able to get control of your family that you're looking to make. So have that conversation with her, know what is in her head, and then by all means you can move on. Until such time, I don't see you moving forward. And come to a decision, and let her appreciate and know that, the day that you guys said I do, you were ready to jump through hoops with her. So if there's anything, she should open up to you and talk to you about it, because you would want to be the go-to person in the marriage. You don't want her mom, you can understand that it's her mom, but you don't want her mom constantly in your affairs, because, you want to sort of get your marriage, going together. So have that open conversation with her and take it from there. And I think you'll be fine.
Okay. Well, I agree with all you ladies. I do think, though, that the way in which the husband communicated to the mother-in-law is very important. Coming more from an angle of he would rather be around his child, bond with his child and wife during this very important few weeks, because he's saying that the child, is not that old and all that. And, for that reason, he would, rather them stay at home. And I think if he says it well, if he makes her understand, and it's not like, no, this is my family and you can't, then, she should be fine. If, on the other hand, you were still very courteous with your response and she took her stuff and left, well, there's not much you can do there. Maybe you can tell your wife that this is what happened, assuming she's not even the one who pushed her mother to come to you. You could tell her what happened and see how you guys can sort of make the old woman understand that you want to be together as a family, because only when your wife also jumps in to support you will all this make sense, and the mother-in-law sort of take a chill pill. So we wish you the best of luck with that one. I'll throw in a last question here. It says, I'm in a relationship with a guy and we're planning to get married. But sisters, my problem here is my boyfriend just told me that he is a Freemason. I'm not cool with it because I'm a Christian and I don't believe in Freemasonry. I don't know what to do. Help. Tina?
Okay, so I find it very suspicious that you started a relationship to the point of marriage before you knew that, or he was telling you that he's in such an association. Because things like that, once you become serious, you know, or once you meet, it's not too personal. So you're a Christian, everybody knows you're a Christian. So once you start dating, everyone gets to know that that's your association, that's where you worship. Why do we have to wait till we are getting married before I get to know that is your association. So I find that a bit like there's a question mark there. Now, the second thing is, you said you're not comfortable with it. And so that is your answer. You're not comfortable. That is your answer. If you are not able to get through your mind or your thought process with someone not being a Christian, then you can't get through the marriage with the person. So I think that once you're not comfortable, you're not comfortable. That's your answer.
All right. Livy, let me come to you. What do you think?
I agree with Tina. It's simple. I mean, you're not comfortable that, he belongs to a society like that. So stick with your instincts, stick with what you believe in as a person, because if you're not comfortable with it now, trust me, don't expect to be married to him in the next 20, 30 years and be comfortable with it. And sometimes I feel like some people are very desperate to be in a relationship, so much so to the extent that, you found somebody, but, you're ready to settle because, the only thing is their religion or their beliefs. So maybe, Charlie, you see, once you start accepting those gray areas that in your heart of hearts that you can't live with, you're stirring up a recipe for disaster. It's either you love the person for who they are, what they believe in, what makes them as a human being, or you don't. There are no gray areas, because what you can't accept now, trust me, sweetheart, there's no way you're going to accept in the next 20, 30 years. So please, let it be, let it go, and just enjoy your life. Life is beautiful. It can be. It all depends on the decisions you make today that affect your future. And not to forget that if you're looking to proceed with this relationship, I always go on about this. You're going to invite children into a very murky situation that they haven't asked to be in. So now that you can, and like Rosie always says, it will cost you money to divorce. So, Charlie, don't even venture. Do the whole marriage thing, charade thing, and then, Charlie, too much wahala down the line. So stay focused. You will find somebody who meets your, your standards or whatever it is that you believe in. But for now, please, I think that you should let it go if it makes you uncomfortable.
Rosina, you have the final word.
Okay, so things that border on faith, principles, belief, and things like that, you should be very careful before compromising, especially when you have the opportunity to compromise, the opportunity to decide before getting married. If you were married and then he now decided to go and join, that's a different conversation. But once you know he's there and you're not comfortable with it, my dear, the situation will never change. So, and I think that, like Tina said, the fact that you couldn't even detect or you didn't even know that he was a Freemason even before you got to the point of you are getting married. My question is, how were you dating? Like, what were you doing? What were you talking about? But basically, I don't think that it's a marriage that you should want to enter in for now, and even forever. I don't think it's something you should go into, because it would. There would always be that ground for arguments, that ground for nah. Unless, of course, you are open to yourself, accepting him as he is. But other than that, please, once you're not comfortable with it, it borders on faith, belief, brotherhood, who he hangs out with, what his ideologies are, and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to compromise on some of those things. Yeah.
Well, I would say to this lady that you should be grateful that you actually found out before you tied the knot. Like the sisters are also wondering. I don't know why now, as in at this point in your relationship where you're getting married, ready for marriage, but at least better safe than sorry. You're not married to him yet, so you are saying you're uncomfortable with it, and so that's all we are hearing. If you're uncomfortable with it, why is it even a question? Like, just stay away, because it doesn't get better, and it won't get better. This will become a wedge in your marriage pretty much forever. So just, bear that in mind and take a good decision on that. We'll leave it to you, though. This show is just to weigh our own, opinions in on your relationship issues, and you at the end of the day are the one who will take the final decision. So we wish you the best of luck with that one. We will end the show here, and now it's been quite the evening. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. Tina as well, Olivia, Rosina. Don't forget though, you can like our Facebook page, okay? Search for Sister Live on Facebook. Have you guys been on the page recently?
Yeah, it's fire.
It's vibrant. I can't believe it sometimes when I go to the Facebook page. We have lots of conversations on that page. We post some of the stories that don't make it to the show. We post on there as well. So, you know, you can just go in and drop your comments. Today, it's interesting because we even had someone reach out to us and say, oh, thank you so much for posting my story on the platform. I'm reading all the answers and I'm taking, you know, all the advice. So this is just to, you know, offer some kind of, should I say, what's the word? Rofanimba. No. But, you know, basically just trying to make amends for, you know, those of you who send in messages, maybe to the show that never make it to air. We put them on the platform and you'll still be able to get some kind of answers from there. So once again, we really appreciate you. We'll be back on this network, same time next week. My name is Jessica. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.